Some treasures are meant to stay buried, but when greed unearths them, the price can shatter lives in ways no one could ever imagine. Richard Magnus wasn't just a man of wealth, he was a legend in the business world. Known for his sharp mind and colder heart, his riches were said to be both a blessing and a curse. Rumors swirled about how he had acquired his fortune. Some claimed it was hard work, others whispered it was through dark, unnatural dealings. But one thing was clear: Richard loved luxury. His mansion was a palace of opulence, adorned with art pieces that could fund nations and artifacts from ancient civilizations. Of all his treasures, though, his most prized possession was his diamond ring. The ring was no ordinary piece of jewelry. It was massive, set with a rare black diamond surrounded by shimmering white diamonds. Richard claimed it had been made by a sorcerer centuries ago, and some believed it held powers good for its owner, but devastating to anyone who tried to take it. Richard's attachment to the ring was almost unnatural. He wore it every day, refusing to let anyone even touch it. Before his death, he called his family together and issued a chilling final request: "This ring is mine. It has always been mine, and it will remain mine forever. When I die, you will bury it with me. No one else must ever claim it. Promise me this." His children, though unsettled, promised to honor his wish. When Richard passed away, his funeral was as grand as his life. Thousands attended, including business tycoons, politicians, and distant relatives hoping for a piece of his fortune. But true to their word, his family ensured that the diamond ring was placed on his skeletal hand as he lay in his golden coffin. His burial was just as extravagant. A custom-made mausoleum was constructed, surrounded by high walls and an iron gate. To his family, this was the end of an eccentric but powerful man's story. Little did they know, it was only the beginning. Among the attendees at the funeral was Travis, Richard's wayward grandson. Unlike his wealthy family members, Travis lived a reckless life. He had dropped out of college, squandered every penny given to him, and surrounded himself with a group of equally aimless friends. To Travis, the ring wasn't a sacred artifact, it was an opportunity. The old man's dead, he told his friends during one of their drunken nights. What's the point of letting a diamond that valuable rot underground? At first, his friends laughed off the idea. But when Travis revealed how much the ring was worth, enough to solve all their problems, they agreed to his plan. The night of the heist was ominous from the start. A storm raged above, lightning illuminating the towering mausoleum as if nature itself was warning them to turn back. Travis and his crew, Jack, Leo, Sarah, and Mike, approached the mausoleum with their tools, the wind howling like a distant wail. The iron gate creaked open, but not without resistance, as if the grave itself didn't want visitors. "This place gives me the creeps," Sarah whispered, her flashlight trembling in her hand. "Stop being a baby," Jack said, though his voice lacked its usual bravado. "We'll be in and out before anyone notices." Inside the mausoleum, the air was heavy and cold, the kind of chill that sank into their bones. As they pried open the golden coffin, a strange whisper echoed through the chamber. "Did you hear that?" Leo froze, his eyes darting around. "It's just the wind," Travis insisted, though his hand shook as he gripped the crowbar. When they finally cracked the coffin open, the sight made them all gasp. Richard's skeletal form lay perfectly preserved in his suit, the diamond ring glinting even in the dim light. But there was something unsettling about the body. It seemed as though the hollow sockets of his skull were watching them. "Let's just grab it and go," Mike said, his voice cracking. As Travis reached for the ring, the air seemed to hum. The moment he slid the ring off the skeletal finger, the humming stopped, replaced by an eerie silence. Then, the mausoleum door slammed shut behind them. Who did that? Sarah screamed, spinning around. It's the wind. Travis snapped, though even he didn't believe it. Let's get out of here. The group fled the mausoleum, clutching the ring like a prize. But as they exited, a flash of lightning illuminated the graveyard. For a split second, they all saw it, a shadowy figure standing by the mausoleum entrance, watching them. The morning after the heist, things began to unravel. Jack was the first to notice something was wrong. As he counted his share of the money, his apartment was filled with an icy chill. The lights flickered, and his TV turned on by itself, displaying static, probably just a power surge, he muttered, but his unease grew when the static on the TV formed words, thief. Jack froze. What the hell? The whispers began that night. Low, guttural voices called his name, growing louder each time he tried to sleep. Shadows moved across his walls, though no one was there. By the third night, Jack was a wreck. He called Travis. Something's wrong, man. It's the ring. I swear it's cursed. Calm down, Travis replied, though his own paranoia was mounting. You're just freaking yourself out. Nothing's going to happen. But deep down, Travis wasn't so sure. The next morning, Travis got the call. Jack was dead, according to the police. Neighbors heard Jack screaming in the middle of the night. When they broke down his door, they found him in his bed, his face twisted in terror. His hands were clawing at his throat, and his fingernails were bloodied. The coroner's report stated he had died of asphyxiation, but no one could explain the strange claw marks on his neck, marks that looked like skeletal fingers. Leo's ordeal began the night after Jack's death. He was driving home late when he started seeing something in his rearview mirror, a faint, shadowy figure sitting in the back seat. He glanced back, but the seat was empty. It's just my imagination, he muttered, gripping the wheel tighter. But the shadow didn't go away. It grew clearer, taking the shape of a skeletal figure with hollow eyes and a diamond ring glinting on its finger. The figure leaned forward, and a cold voice whispered in his ear, "Give it back." Leo screamed and lost control of the car, veering off the road and slamming into a tree. Witnesses found him alive, but hysterical, screaming, "He's here! He's here!" He died minutes later from internal injuries, his face frozen in a mask of pure terror. Travis, Sarah, and Mike met after Leo's death. Paranoia had taken hold of them all. "We're being haunted." Sarah whispered, her eyes darting around the room. "It's him. It's your grandfather. He wants the ring back." Mike slammed his fist on the table. "This is insane. There's no such thing as ghosts." "Then explain Jack and Leo." Sarah shot back, tears streaming down her face. Travis stayed silent, his mind racing. He was starting to believe it too. His nights were filled with nightmares of his grandfather clawing his way out of the grave. He heard footsteps in his house, even when he was alone. And the shadows. They were always there, just out of reach. Sarah's death was the most chilling. She had locked herself in her apartment, refusing to leave, convinced she was next. But isolation didn't save her. One night, she awoke to the sound of water dripping. She got up, confused, as she hadn't used the sink or shower. The sound led her to the bathroom, where she found the bathtub filled to the brim with water, though she had left it dry. As she stepped closer, a hand shot out from the water, a skeletal hand with a diamond ring on its finger. Sarah screamed, but the hand grabbed her wrist and pulled her into the tub. When her body was found the next morning, the tub was dry, but Sarah was drowned, her face twisted in horror. By now, Travis was scared as never before. He barricaded himself in his room, refusing to leave. He stopped sleeping, terrified of what he might see if he closed his eyes. But the haunting only grew worse. The whispers were constant now, growing louder each night. His grandfather's voice called his name, low and menacing. "You can't hide, Travis. It's mine." One night, he woke to find his grandfather's shadow standing at the foot of his bed. The skeletal figure leaned down, its hollow eyes inches from his face. "Return what you stole, or join the others." Travis screamed and fled, finally confessing everything to his parents. Travis's confession left his parents stunned. They had always dismissed Richard's sorcery as a family myth. But now, with 3 dead and Travis teetering on the edge of madness, they couldn't ignore the truth any longer. "You stole from a man who dabbled in powers we don't understand," his mother whispered, her face pale. "We have to fix this." The first step was to find the ring. They tracked down the jeweler, who admitted he had sold it to Victor Aldridge, a reclusive tycoon known for his eccentric tastes. Victor Aldridge's mansion was a fortress of wealth and paranoia. Gilded gates surrounded the property, and the towering structure loomed like a shadow over the hillside. Inside, everything gleamed with polished opulence, but an unnatural chill permeated the air. Victor greeted them with a wary smile. "What brings you to my home?" When Travis's father explained the situation, Victor's smile faltered. He dismissed their story as superstition. "A cursed ring? Surely you don't expect me to believe such nonsense." Travis interrupted, his voice shaking. "Have you experienced anything strange since you got the ring?" Victor's expression darkened. He tried to brush off the question, but finally admitted, "There have been incidents, strange noises at night, objects moving on their own, and the nightmares." Victor leaned forward, lowering his voice. "Every night, I dream of a skeletal figure standing at the foot of my bed, staring at me with hollow eyes. I thought I was losing my mind." "You're not," Travis said grimly. "It's him. My grandfather. And if you don't give us the ring, he won't stop." Victor hesitated, clearly torn. "The ring is worth millions. I can't just give it away." Travis's father offered to buy it back at a steep price, but Victor remained hesitant. That night, Victor experienced the full wrath of Richard's spirit. As he slept, the shadows in his room began to move, coalescing into a skeletal figure with glowing eyes. The figure pointed at him, and a voice boomed, "Give it back, or suffer." Victor awoke screaming, his room freezing cold despite the roaring fire in the hearth. The next morning, he called Travis's father and agreed to sell the ring. With the ring in hand, the family returned to the mausoleum. The air around the graveyard was heavy, as if the very earth was holding its breath. They brought a priest with them, hoping to appease Richard's spirit. The mausoleum was darker than they remembered, the shadows seeming to stretch and twist. As they approached the coffin, the ring began to vibrate in Travis's hand, growing colder with each step. When they opened the coffin, Richard's skeleton looked different. The bones were unnaturally aligned, almost as if they had shifted on their own. His empty eye socket seemed to glare at them, and his bony hand was outstretched as though waiting for the ring. The priest began chanting prayers, his voice trembling. As Travis placed the ring back on the skeletal finger, a violent wind tore through the mausoleum, extinguishing their flashlights. The darkness was absolute, and the sound of whispered voices filled the air. One voice rose above the others. "Richards, this time, let me rest. But never forget what happens to those who steal from the dead." The wind stopped as suddenly as it had begun. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, and for the first time in weeks, Travis felt a strange sense of peace. The family thought the nightmare was over. Travis worked hard to rebuild his life, cutting ties with his reckless past and finding a steady job. He even started a family of his own. Years later, on his daughter's 8th birthday, a package arrived at their doorstep. It was unmarked, with no return address. "Who sent this?" his wife asked, handing it to him. "I don't know," Travis said, frowning as he opened it. Inside was a small black box and a note. The handwriting was elegant, almost regal. "Greed never dies, grandson. Protect your soul." Travis's heart raced as he opened the box. Inside was a ring identical to the one they had returned to the grave. The diamond glinted ominously, almost as if it was alive. He stumbled back, dropping the box. When he looked down, the ring was gone. Later that night, as he tucked his daughter into bed, she looked up at him and asked, "Daddy, who was the man in the hallway?" Travis froze. "What man?" "The one with the scary eyes," she whispered. "He said it was his turn to have the ring."
Please subscribe, like, comment and share this video. It means a lot to us. Thank you.